Hey guys, this is Miss Rivers. Here is your video on short stories. Before we begin, I want to let you all know that as you're watching this and you're taking notes, feel free to pause the video at any time so that you can take notes and then start it whenever you're ready. Okay, so you have control over how fast this video goes. So let's start out introducing short stories. Hopefully you already know what short stories are. They are a brief work of fiction, which just means they're not real, and they're meant to be read in one sitting. So usually short stories are meant to be read in one class period, but they're not long enough that you have to space them out over several different days. So they are short. Easy to remember, right? The elements of a short story. You have a plot, and a plot is a series of related events, and this is basically the story. This is where you get your story from. You have different parts of the plot. You have a conflict in the story, and a conflict is something that the character experiences that's a tough issue, some kind of struggle that they go through. You have two different types of conflicts. One is called external, and that's an outer struggle. External conflicts can be between two characters, it can be between a character and a group of people, or it could really be a conflict between the character and, say, like a force of nature. So, say the character is going through, a weather-related issue, so they're dealing with a tornado or a hurricane or an earthquake. That would be a force of nature that's outside of the character, and that would be an external conflict. An internal conflict is when you have a struggle that's going on within the character. So if the character is depressed or if the character has some kind of emotional issue, that's called an internal conflict. Your characters are people or animals that participate in the action. Setting is the time and place of the action. So it's, during a story you've got, it depends on if it's, in the past or the present, could be in the future, and where it takes place, that's all the setting. Your symbols are things that stand for something else. So say you have within your story something that keeps reappearing. So say you have like an apple that keeps reappearing in the story. That apple may stand for knowledge, or it may stand for, like a gift. But whatever that thing stands for, that's considered a symbol. The theme of the story is the central message or the insight that the character gets into life, or that you get into life. It's kind of an overarching message. Okay, this is how we plot the different parts of a short story. So you see this here. It's like an inverted triangle, or an open triangle, I guess. So we're going to go through these one by one. This is something I definitely think you should write down. What I would suggest is drawing this and numbering it, and then writing down the parts of the story and even their definitions if you want to be more specific, okay? So we're going to go through this one by one. So at the start of a story, at the very beginning, right here you get what's called the exposition. The exposition is where you learn the setting, okay? You learn a little bit about the characters, you learn their history, you learn their backstory. If there's anything that you need to know about the characters, this is where you learn it, okay? Exposition. Then we move up to number two. Number two is your conflict. This is where the struggle is introduced. We find out as the reader what's going to happen in the story that's an issue for the character, okay? Number three is the rising action. So notice that as we go up the triangle, we're climbing. This is where the different plot points are happening, okay? Number four is our climax, okay? A climax is the turning point of the story, where something happens that everything from that point on starts, you guessed it, going downhill, okay? Whoops. There we go, going downhill. Number five is our falling action, okay? So as we're going down the slope here, our falling action are all the plot points that happen as we get down to number six, which is our resolution. Resolution is where the conflict has been settled. Everything is solved. There's a solution to the story, to the problem. And number 7 here is our moral. Now, not all short stories will have a moral, but chances are that in most stories we can come up with some kind of lesson that the character learned or that we as the reader learned, okay? And that's where you find it, normally at the end of the resolution or after the resolution at the end of the story. Okay? So that is your background on short stories. Tomorrow in class, we are reading a short story and we'll be charting out the story along this plot point, okay? So make sure you understand what each one of those numbers mean, okay? Y'all send me messages on Edmodo if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow.